Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
Merhaba kardeşim, my name's Adam Jones. Great book today, Art of Happiness by the big dog himself, the Dalai Lama.
What does HH mean?
Who's that?
His Holiness. Dalai Lama. No, I was just trying to work HH, Dalai Lama, His Holiness. So, mate, this is a bloody solid book. So, The Art of Happiness, the Dalai Lama, this bloke named Howard C. Cutler went along to a few of his courses and was able to sit and interview the Dalai Lama. And so this Howard's put together all his lessons, I guess, into a book.
So one of the main goals of the book was to combine the very best philosophies around happiness from the East and the West and combine it into one book, see what areas are similar, what areas are different, and basically what we can, as Westerners, what we can take away from one of the, I guess, best spiritual teachers around the world at the moment, who's gone through a lot of hardship in his life, and he's come out clean on the other side, and lots to learn
better
from.
For it. Yeah, mate, I love it. I think I suppose most people know who the Dalai Lama is and what he looks like. Crazy little old Tibetan guy with his maroon robes.
Yeah,
he's alleged. As a bit of an intro, let's see. So basically, he's the head of the Tibetan arm of Buddhism, yeah?
Yeah.
Was he some kind of country, like, political leader as well? Or not really?
No, just in Tibet. So I think he led Tibet before China came over. Yeah. China came in, raped and killed a lot of the Tibetans. So then the Dalai Lama, when he was like 13 or 14 years old, he was... So usually they make him the leader when you're 18, 19, 20, but because all the stuff was happening, they said, we need to get this guy in quickly. So
he was 13 or 14 when
he was 13 or 14 or something like that when he first led Tibet. So he led a bunch of people. This is in the book, by the way, guys. So he led a bunch of people from Tibet into India, where he went into hiding for a bit and then tried to lead the country. And ever since then, he's been campaigning around the world to...
for the freedom of Tibet,
Freedom of Tibet.
China wanted Tibet, and Tibet was like, no, and then China sent a whole bunch of people there to overrule them. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, what did it say? He lived in exile for 4 decades, basically, and basically the whole country, he had the fate of Tibet and their freedom on his shoulders, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Where are they at now? There was a bit of stuff going on a couple of years ago, wasn't there?
Not sure. I think it'd be going the right direction, but I think there's still a fair bit of work to do. I don't think they're just going to be able to China
take it back.
Give it back straight away, I don't think.
Mate, what I really liked about this, obviously he's the most entrenched in Tibetan Buddhism that you could possibly get. But at the same time, Howard said that he was struck by his extraordinary readiness to take a fresh look and a fresh perspective at his own beliefs and practices. So even though he's the leader of this and this is his religion, he's very, very accepting of others, other religions, other ideas, other beliefs, and people. He's happy to say, question his own beliefs and practices. Yeah,
that's something to be hugely admired about.
Yeah.
If he doesn't know the answer to a question, he'll actually say, I don't know, and laugh about it, even if it's something to do with his religion. So, as opposed to the opposite of going on and,
it's the opposite of the classic religious dogmatic Scientology style where they're just, this is it. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good. Mate, so what I liked, to segue from the Dalai Lama into the book, so the Dalai Lama said that whilst attaining a genuine and lasting happiness is not easy, it can be done. And so this book is all about achieving happiness. Do you want to kick off with chapter 1?
Yep, so chapter 1, so the purpose of life, good question, but pretty simple when you're the Dalai Lama to answer. It is purely just to seek happiness.
Yep.
And this happiness can be achieved through training the mind. So this guy... He meditates for about 4 or 5 hours every day on everything. And so for him, it's all about training the mind to get this state of enlightenment, what the Buddhists call. So you can just chill out and enjoy life.
Yeah. So the Dalai Lama said, I believe the very purposes of our life is to seek happiness. That is clear. Whether one believes in religion or not, whether it's this religion or that, we are all seeking something better in life. And I think the very motion of our life is towards happiness. And it is about seeking it in a sense. As you say, it's about training yourself to it. And that's our purpose of life. It's not just letting the world happen and us trying to find happiness within that. It's about us consciously and actively trying to achieve our own happiness. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. So chapter 2, it says the source of happiness. So he gives 2 examples of people. So one lady at the age of 32, one of his friends, retired because she had all these stock options and started the company, and she retired a millionaire at 32. And she said, after the excitement of making the money, I don't think that I was happier than before. But on the other hand, you get people who are diagnosed with AIDS, and sometimes they, like, as opposed to these hardships, they wake up and start to enjoy their life more. So one of the lessons in chapter 2 is, like, happiness is not dictated by all this external stuff. It's actually your perception of events and your internal outlook on everything.
Yeah, bang, bang. Mate, he says that our moment-to-moment happiness is largely dependent on our outlook. So it's not about our absolute conditions. It's more of a function of how we perceive our situation and how satisfied we are with what we have. And so, as he said, like, it's about comparing. So he says that our feelings of contentment are strongly influenced by our tendency to compare. So it's like if you weren't 30 grand last year and then 40 grand this year, you think, oh, I'm happier than last year because I'm making more money. Or if you earn $100 more than your brother-in-law, then you feel like you're pretty rich.
Yeah.
That's what he says in here. And so that's why, as you say, like, when you compare from time to time, that's where, we're trying to compare to our past or other people to find happiness.
Yeah.
But instead, he says the 4 factors of fulfillment and happiness are wealth, worldly satisfaction, spirituality, and enlightenment. Together, they embrace the totality of an individual's quest for happiness.
There you go. Bit of
The 4 factors.
little concoction.
Yeah.
That's good. So, one of the quickest ways to unhappiness, I guess, in juxtaposition is if you look at the mainstream magazines and you look at all these fit, healthy bodies and all these wealthy people, and you're just thinking, why aren't I there? Why aren't I achieving all that? As opposed to that, you can think of the people going through hardships in the world, and then, you can't help but just feeling blessed and lucky to have what we have.
Yeah, mate, and so he says there's 2 ways to achieve inner contentment. So one method is to obtain everything that we want and desire. All the money, all the houses, all the cars, the perfect mate, the perfect body, and that's, so that's one way to get it, is if we achieve all of our wants and desires sooner rather than later, and then we're going to be happy.
Yeah.
Or the second way, a much more reliable method, is to instead just appreciate what we do currently have.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's that change of perception, change of mindset, as to rather than thinking, oh, when I get rich, then I'll be happy, but instead being happy with what you've got now.
Yeah. So for the Dalai Lama, it's probably good to mention that we can't get happiness confused with pleasure. So something like going out and having a big night with everyone and getting smashed on the booze is probably more to do with pleasure, because on the Monday morning you have the dip and then it's the up and down cycle.
And having sex is pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll wait to see the way of Superior Man. I reckon that can be sustained.
Maybe he said in here something about sex is one of the happiest moments. That's what some other guy said to the Dalai. He's like, no, that's not happiness, that's pleasure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does he have it? Does he get it?
Yes. No, he's celibate. I don't think he's ever rooted, ever.
Jeez. He would.
Mate,
when you got a mind that powerful, though, you could just create whatever you want.
Yeah.
In your
he
mind.
must wank.
Oh, he
Do you
probably,
reckon? No, he probably doesn't. Oh, I don't know, fuck.
So we're getting to chapter 3.
Hang on, mate, we said pleasure, but what's happiness?
Oh, just being a content guy.
Yeah.
Everything's happening out there, but you're and actually he says the biggest thing. This is one of the start of the book as well. If you want to be happy, practice compassion, and if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. So it's all about just being compassionate, and you'll be happy. So
that's sick.
That's one of his simple formulas, and he's got a few techniques to be compassionate. But so chapter 3, training your mind for happiness. So here's so the Dalai Lama's theory is, like, once our basic needs are met, so after that we don't need more money, more fame, or the perfect body, or the perfect mate. So once we get to this comfortable place of Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever, then we don't need any more. That's just you're really striving for something that's not going to improve your life. Yeah,
correct. So as you say that, we need that. Everyone needs that basic level. We need food, we need shelter, we need a bit of comfort. But once you've got that basic level, striving for more and more and more isn't going to make us happier. And so he said that instead we should always, like when we're thinking of our decisions, he says instead of thinking, will this make me more money? And deciding whether to do something based on that, you should say, will this bring me more happiness? And make your decisions based on the happiness it will or won't create.
Yeah, that's right. So this is one of the areas where we're different to animals, actually, because some people, I guess, can be conscious enough of their own thoughts to realise when they're going down these negative emotions or getting angry or all these patterns. But if you can be conscious enough, like the big Dalai, and you can step back and you realise that's where that's leading you, then that's another way of training your mind for happiness. Realising what patterns and what shit's leading you to unhappiness as well.
Yeah, and so a big part is the mental discipline. So basically, all there is essentially, and this is kind of what Tony Robbins said, there's either there's positive states and negative states. Or he doesn't say that. What did he say? He said there was suffering.
And beautiful, maybe?
Yeah, beautiful states and suffering states. And so that's what he kind of says here, is the Dalai says that, is that what you call him, the Dalai, for sure? Dalai?
Oh,
yeah, the Lama? Do we call him the Lama?
We'll
call him the
Dalai Lama.
So he says that we want to identify and cultivate positive mental states and identify and eliminate negative mental states. So yeah, that's what we, positive stuff is going to bring us happiness, negative stuff is going to take us away from happiness.
Yep. So taking a step back in an hour and afternoon to step back and reflect on what things in your life, and then I guess having the proactivity and initiative to take the actions to just keep doing the things that lead to your happiness.
Yeah, and mate, as you said there, it's just a matter of doing it. Like you might think at the time, you think, oh, something shit happened, someone yelled at you at work.
Yeah.
And at the time, you're in this negative emotional state and you're not experiencing happiness, and you think, it's impossible for me to just snap out of this. And at the start, it's going to be tough, but the DL said, no matter what activity or practice we are pursuing, there isn't anything that isn't made easier through constant familiarity and training. Yeah. And so he said that anything we do, obviously it's going to be tough the first time, but the more and more we do it, it's going to become easier and easier.
Yeah.
So if you're conscious of thinking, I'm in a shit mood right now, how can I get myself out of this? The more you practice it, the easier it'll become.
Yeah. It's like any skill, I guess.
Yeah.
He says, it's like just going to the gym, but we don't really think about a brain in that kind of way. We think about the gym, training there, and we get bigger muscles, but the exact same process can be applied to the brain to be more compassionate and using these keys to become happier.
Love it.
So yeah, so that's the start of the book, and then there's some which we both really liked.
Yeah, so the book's in a few different parts. So that was most of part one, the purpose of life. There's 5 parts in total. Part 1 was definitely my favourite. That's where all my notes and highlights and everything are. And the other stuff's good. I just slowly dropped off. I lost the connection. It's fucking good stuff though.
That's all right, man. Yeah. So we'll go through some nuggets.
Yeah.
So the first time I read this a few years ago, probably the biggest learning that planted a seed for me at the time was in the chapter 5, the new model for intimacy. So basically, I used to be a guy who's maybe, I guess like everyone, is a little bit shy of people and a little bit unsure when you first meet them. But it's basically if you approach others with a bit of compassion and you're not thinking of yourself, and all of a sudden all this fear drops away, and you can approach every single person without fear and an openness. And like how they react to you will also be reciprocated. So if you approach them in this kind of compassionate way and you trust them and you're open, it will be reciprocated.
Yeah.
And that since just reading that chapter, it's had a huge impact on me, because in the past, if I was a little bit suspect of people when I first approached them, usually they'd reciprocate that as well.
Yeah, and as you say, it's important that we don't wait for other people. We have to take that proactivity. We have to give it first before we can receive.
Yeah.
Essentially. So in many cases, people tend to expect the other person, I guess, to act first, and hopefully in a positive way. But if we go out and consciously give first and be positive first, then, as you say, more likely to be reciprocated. Yeah,
definitely. So also another ripper was, I thought, chapter 8, facing suffering. So I guess hardships and all the challenges that everyone has in their lives is how to approach that, because because even though they're Buddhists and they might be just chilling out in caves, meditating, as you stereotype, they're still facing a lot of challenges. Like these guys, especially the Dalai Lama, as we've mentioned at the start of this podcast, he has had some fucking wild challenges that we might have a hard day at work. He's had brothers murdered in China. He's had his friends raped and murdered, and he's been kicked out of his own home and all that. But this guy, he still sees these challenges as opportunities for growth. So when asked if does he hate Chairman Mao, who was the big dog at the time from China, who fucked them all up, the whole time he had compassion for Chairman Mao, and he saw him as an opportunity to grow as a person and use these challenges and hate to practice his compassion even more.
Yeah, as you say, good opportunity to practice. And that's what he said, no one lives a life free from suffering and loss. And most of the time, it's not going to be personalised. Like, it's not going to be... It wasn't like Chairman Mao was like, fuck, I hate Dalai Lama, get out. Or maybe he did, but anyway. But if you don't look at it as a personal thing, then I think that's one way the Dalai talks about combating that sort of suffering. Now, I'm no expert on Buddhism, but I think a big part of Buddhism is everything in life, you're going to face suffering, and it's just a matter of how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the main thing of...
Yeah, I'd say so. This is going a bit off topic, one of the conversations we had the other day, our favourite thing about Buddhism, is probably the only religion where they say, all right, these are our assumptions and these are our models. Go out and test it, use science. They want science and everything to get around and test all these models. And then all of Buddhism has to change if there's evidence to the contrary of what they're predicting. So it's really interesting in that way and different to the other religions who always just seem to capitulate to whatever science.
Mate, Buddhism seems pretty sick.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
I reckon it's one of the better religions. Not that I'm into any religions at all, but Buddhism seems pretty good. If I was going to pick one, I'd probably go Buddhism.
The Buddhism. But on that topic of challenge, so if you ask in your life like why am I getting challenged, why am I getting cheated, like the Dalai Lama goes, all right, let's look at it the other way. Let's say if you as soon as you were born, you come out of your mum's belly, and then everyone as soon as you get out, there's a doctor there making this goo goo noise, and your mum's there going goo goo ga 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 ga. And then everything's a challenge, everything's a breeze. That'd be absolute hell. There'd be no mental or emotional development. So they're the two ends of the spectrum. So you got one end where life is hard and one end where life is a piece of piss. So where life is hard, it's shifting your perspective into where it's hard, and then getting the emotional and mental development because of these challenges and growing as a person. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the lessons that the big Dal goes into.
Love it. Nicky Dal.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Mate, what about chapter 12, bringing about change? So he gives us a bit of a process of change. So he says the first step for change is learning. So obviously that learning is about understanding what's happening and understanding what you can do about it. Then the next step is developing conviction. So within yourself, after you've learned, within yourself, developing that conviction, that commitment to want to change. And then that conviction goes into determination. The next step is to transform that determination into action and actually do something about it. And then the most important bit is sustained continuous effort.
Yeah.
So I think that's nothing groundbreaking. That's pretty standard. But it's a good little summary. Learning, conviction, determination, action, effort.
Yeah. And as a side note to this, which I think is really cool, and is he says a sense of urgency is very important. So one of the biggest parts of Buddhism, according to the Dalai Lama, is understanding impermanence in your life, that everything is going to change, that your days are numbered, as from them, like in your body at the moment, your days are numbered. So understanding your impermanence, and if you don't have a sense of urgency, the things aren't going to get done in your life, or the growth or the fulfillment, you're not going to get there if you don't have the urgency to get up and do the shit you need to do.
Love it. Mate, Buddhists, they've got reincarnation, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So
that'd be a good one.
Hey?
That'd be good.
Reincarnate. Yeah, it depends what, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Mate, what about chapter 13, dealing with anger and hatred?
Yeah.
Mate, we've got a story here from Shakyamuni, the Buddha.
Yeah.
So he says, if one comes across a person who has been shot by an arrow, one does not spend time wondering about where the arrow came from or the caste of the individual who shot it, or analysing the type of wood that the shaft is made from, or any manner in which the arrowhead was fashioned. Instead, one should focus immediately on pulling out the arrow.
How good is that?
How good is that?
Love it.
So as he says that all negative mental states are obstacles to our happiness. And it's saying that if someone's angry at you or someone hates you, he's saying that you shouldn't think, fuck, why is this guy angry at me? What did I do? Or what's pissed them off in their life? Or why are they angry at me right now? Instead, we just need to focus on stopping that anger first and foremost, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So if someone says to you on Facebook, hey, you look fat in that photo, you don't just go, oh, fuck that person, I'm going to go and shoot. You just think, all right, I feel bad now, and deal with that bad feeling and then analyse it and then let it go away that way, and all that external stuff, it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
So if you master that internal attitude toward all the stuff, then, yeah, rock and roll.
Yeah, I love it.
So any more from any chapters,
I think that was... Mate, there's so much stuff in here that I've highlighted that we don't have time to talk about, but that was the main stuff, I think.
Yeah, so they're the stuff we liked. I think probably the Buddhism is probably got that many layers to it, and we're probably, me and you, we're not that into it, so it's like we're probably only peeling the first layer. But I'm sure, because it's been tested over 2,500 years, there is so much layers to it, and so much values, and you don't have to adopt. It's not like a religion where you have to like fucking, do all these rituals and do everything they say. You can just take what you want from it, learn from it, and then just adopt it into your own life.
Yeah. Should we get the Dalai on? I don't think we'll get it, mate. We'll try, but we do have a Buddhist monk coming on.
Yeah.
So that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Mate, overall, what were your thoughts on the book?
Yeah, I loved it. I'd recommend it to every Westerner. It's just shit that we can learn. There's some of our biggest weaknesses in Western culture can be fixed up by some of the Eastern culture's perspectives and philosophies, I think.
For sure. As I said, I really, really love, say, the first 30, 40 pages.
Yeah.
For some reason, like, there was a lot of stuff in there that I loved, but I don't know what it was. I just wasn't... I don't know if it was the writing style I wasn't connecting with or the way he was doing it.
Yeah.
It was sort of more... I felt like parts I was just reading words as opposed to actually understanding it.
Yeah.
But there was some fucking good shit in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Would definitely read. Definitely must read, I'd say.
So for you, definitely, it's worth looking for people getting into a bit of the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
His work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Fuck yeah.
What's next?
So that's serious book coming.
Mate, it's called The Way of the Superior Man, a spiritual guide to mastering the challenges of women, work, and sexual desire.
Yeah.
Interesting book.
Interesting book coming, guys. Should we sing that shit?
Let's have a sing.
Yeah.
The Art of Happiness. The Dalai Lama. His actual name is Tenzin Gyatso.
If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion too.
The purpose of life? Happiness.
Happiness. Antidote is content, meditate.
Train your mind for happiness.
Just meditate.
Give. Don't wait to receive. Give first.
Give it, everybody give it.
Most of our suffering is self-created. Instead, respond differently. Bring about change. Here's the process. Step 1, learning. Step 2, conviction. Step 3, determination. Step 4, action. Step 5 is effort.
Be urgent, oh.